Now the sad news that the film star Val Kilmer, who played Batman, and Jim Morrison, as well as starring in Top Gun, has died at the age of 65. The Oscar-winning American actor Gene Hackman, along with his wife Betsy, have been found dead in their home in New Mexico. In 2025, Hollywood lost some of its biggest names, but the world barely noticed. A TV legend died alone with his wife's body for 9 days. A soap opera queen fell downstairs and never got back. A child star was found unconscious in her luxury apartment at just 39 years old. These weren't just deaths. They were cover-ups, family secrets, and tragedies that the industry tried to bury. What really happened behind closed doors will shock you. Richard Chamberlain. Richard Chamberlain's death on March 29, 2025 in Vim Manalo, Hawaii closed the curtain on one of television's most fascinating lives. He was just 2 days shy of his 91st birthday. At the height of his fame, he was receiving 12,000 fan letters every single week. But behind the perfect smile and steady gaze there was a man who had been hiding for most of his life. He was born George Richard Chamberlain on March 31, 1934 in Beverly Hills, but not in the glittering mansions people assumed. His family lived on the wrong side of Wilshire Boulevard. His father struggled with severe alcoholism before later becoming a respected Alcoholics Anonymous speaker who traveled the world. Richard grew up feeling like an outsider long before he ever stepped onto a soundstage. When Dr. Kildare hit television screens in 1961, it turned him into America's heartthrob almost overnight. But the fame was a double-edged sword. He feared one truth about himself could destroy everything. He was gay in an era when that could mean the end of a career. To the public, he appeared at premieres with beautiful actresses on his arm. In reality, it was all part of a carefully crafted act. The act worked. He became the undisputed king of television miniseries. In 1980, Shogun captivated audiences across the country. 3 years later, the Thornbirds became a cultural phenomenon, drawing 60% of American television viewers and earning 16 Emmy nominations. All the while, he kept his private life locked away. The truth finally came in 2003. At 70 years old, he released his memoir Shattered Love and told the world what many in Hollywood had quietly known. He revealed he had lived in fear for decades, hiding a 20-year relationship with producer Martin Rabbit from the public eye. Wings. Hauer's life was the kind of story Hollywood usually makes up, except his was real. He was born Gerald Dwight Hauer on December 12, 1947, right in Hollywood. Standing 6 feet 2 inches, he would one day appear in over 100 films and TV shows. But the road there began in a way that seemed impossible for someone destined for the screen. In the early 1970s, he had nothing. He and his infant daughter Bright were homeless, living in an empty garage while he scraped by as a folk musician and street performer. Nights were cold, days were long. Every coin he earned felt like a small victory. Those years carved a raw honesty into him, the kind you can't fake. It became the heartbeat of his acting. His big moment came in 1982 with the exploitation thriller Vice Squad. He played Ramrod, a psychotic pimp so unpredictable that audiences couldn't decide whether to look away or keep watching. He didn't just play the role. He inhabited it. And he even wrote and sang the movie's theme song, Neon Slime, letting his music bleed into his performance. Life off-screen was no less colorful. In the early 1990s, he was in a relationship with Linda Blair, the Exorcist star whose own life had been shaped by fame and controversy. Hauer's career jumped between serious, respected films like A Soldier's Story in 1984 and low-budget cult flicks that earned him a strange but fitting nickname, the biggest star you've never heard of. In his later years, illness caught up with him. Chronic obstructive pulmonary disease made breathing a struggle. Oxygen tanks became part of his daily life. Still, he carried himself with the same defiant spirit he'd always had. On March 15, 2025 at 77, Wings Hauser died in Santa Monica. He left behind his wife Callie Lily Hauser and his son Yellowstone actor Cole Hauser. George Robert Wendt died on May 20, 2025 at the age of 76. It was the quiet end of a man whose face and voice had been a part of millions of living rooms for more than a decade. He passed away in his sleep at his home in Studio City. The news spread, but the response felt strangely muted for someone who once made an entire country shout, "Norm!" Without thinking for years, his health had been quietly collapsing. What looked peaceful in the end was the closing chapter of a long and painful decline. The official death certificate listed cardiac arrest, but that was only the last step in a long chain of damage. His body had been fighting on multiple fronts: congestive heart failure, coronary artery disease, hypertension, end-stage renal disease, meaning his kidneys had completely failed, hyperlipidemia, where cholesterol levels become dangerously high. It wasn't sudden. It was a slow war that he was losing bit by bit, even as the public still pictured him smiling on a bar stool. For most people, George Wendt would always be Norm Peterson from Cheers, the man who sat in the same spot and turned every entrance into a joke. The audience loved that role, earned him 6 straight Emmy nominations between 1984 and 1989. He was in all 275 episodes of the show's 11-season run, one of only 3 cast members to do it. Cheers itself became one of television's biggest success stories. 117 Emmy nominations, 28 wins. When the final episode aired in 1993, more than 80 million people watched. That kind of success should have